you so much. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that introduction about me. So let's start off the session. First of all, welcome once again to this webinar. Do I need ITIL 4? Okay, and yeah, so let's start off. Here is the agenda for the session. So firstly, we're going to talk and try to understand what is ITIL, and the second topic would be evolution of ITIL, how it started, and currently we are in ITIL 4. We're going to talk about that evolution, and then we're going to talk about the differences in ITIL V2, V3, and V4, and we will try to understand why those upgradations have happened from V2 to V3 and then V4. And then the fourth topic would be, why is ITIL 4 important? So we're going to have a quick view, why ITIL 4 is important and why should we all. And then the fifth topic would be a view of the new concepts in ITIL 4. So we would just try to understand what are the new concepts that have been introduced in ITIL 4. And then the last topic would be certifications in ITIL 4. So we will just try to understand what are the different certifications that is there in ITIL 4 and what is the importance of that different certifications. Okay, firstly, what is ITIL? So firstly, what is ITIL? ITIL is a best practice framework, and we all know that, right? ITIL is a best practice framework for what? It's a best practice framework for IT service management. Okay, so first let's try to understand what is best practice. See, there can be n number of ways an activity to do some kind of work, but there would be only one kind of way wherein we will be able to do that work in a very cost-effective way, and we will be able to do that work in a simple form using minimum number of resources and in less amount of time. So that kind of activity or that kind of approach will be called as best practice. Okay, so ITIL is a best practice framework for IT service management. Fine. So what is IT service management now? In simple words, I can say IT service management is managing your IT services. In simple words, if we have to go by definition, it can be said as it is a set of specialized capabilities in order to enable your IT services to your customers in the form of IT services. That is the real definition of IT service management in ITIL 4. But in simple words, if you have to really understand it in layman terms, IT service management is managing your IT services with respect to your customer requirements. So when we say with respect to your customer requirements, it obviously means that we are managing the IT services with respect to the quality and with respect to the timelines and with respect to the scope that is defined by the customer. Okay, so that is IT service management. Fine. So we're discussing all this because we are in the slide ITIL. As we discussed, ITIL is a best practice framework for IT service management. So why do we need this so-called IT service management? We said IT service management is managing IT services, right? So why do we need it? So that I will just reiterate the same sentence or the same discussed points. We would need IT service management so that we can deliver our IT services to our customers, to our customers as per their requirements. That is the reason we would be needing IT service management. So there is a customer, and on the other end, we have someone called service provider. Service provider is the one who is actually providing the IT services. So as a service provider, you need some best practices in order to manage your IT services, in order to provide good services to your customers, right? And such best practice or that good practice is ITIL. ITIL stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library. We all know this acronym. right? We've been using this ITIL, so we are very much familiar with this acronym, Information Technology Infrastructure Library, right? So I will try to go a bit more, granular. So let's try to understand what is information technology first of all. Before we go ahead and talk about ITIL, let's try to understand what is information technology. Can you unmute all the participants so that we can try to let's try to make this session interactive. So can anybody try to share your opinions? What is information technology? Anybody wants to share? You can be very frank. You can say that in very layman terms, because we cannot try to memorize all the definitions that is there in this world. So you can be very frank and try to explain in layman terms. Fine. So I will share my ideas on what is information technology. Information technology is the science. It's the application of science which consolidates different technologies like telecommunication technology, computer hardware, and computer software in order to gather the data, in order to process the data, store the data, and archive the data so that we can make effective business decisions. So when you're gathering all this data, when you have processed the data, when you have stored the data in some servers or some databases, what is the purpose of it? The purpose is in order to make effective business decisions, right? So in simple words, we can say information technology is the combination of this telecommunication technology, the computer hardware, computer software all together in order to make effective business decisions, right? And then what is infrastructure? Infrastructure, you go to some place, you go to a shopping mall or probably to some company or some organization, and you see, you look around, and there you see some kind of things like the rooms or the tables, the chairs, the AC machines, and lots of things, or the machines, and you see all this, and this is what you call infrastructure, right? So what is library? Library, it's the place where you can find books, right? It's the place where you can find books, and books give knowledge, right? So now look at this definition, or look at this ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. So ITIL is a set of books which is going to give you knowledge on how to manage your IT infrastructure. So I hope I have made myself very clear about ITIL, but I'm sure many of you people would be knowing what is ITIL, but this is a very, a very layman kind of explanation to all the beginners who is there in the webinar. Okay, so ITIL is a best practice framework for managing the IT infrastructure. Okay, and we need those best practices so that our customers' requirements can be fulfilled, right? And we as a service provider are doing a good job in order to ensure our customers are really happy with our services. Okay, so ITIL is a best practice framework. Fine. So in best practice frameworks, is ITIL the only best practice framework? No, not at all. There are many best practices. Okay, there are many best practices like we have MOF, Microsoft Operations Framework from Microsoft. We have ISM, Integrated Service Management from Netherlands. We have COBIT from US, which is Control Objectives for Information Technology. And we have another best practice, one from New Zealand called CAMU. So there are many best practices, okay? So why are we talking only about ITIL? And the reason is ITIL is a best practice framework which has been introduced in 1970s, in 1980s exactly, and from 1980s to 2019, it has been a pioneer. It has been a leader for managing the IT services. Okay, so though there are many best practices, ITIL is very popular best practice framework. Okay, it's a very popular best practice framework, and it's been 3 to 4 decades, and yet ITIL has got its own prominence and can be considered as a very successful best practice framework. Why is it so? The reason is it is vendor neutral. ITIL is a vendor neutral best practice framework, which means ITIL best practices can be applied in any organization, irrespective of the technology that they are using, irrespective whether if it's a Microsoft technology, whether if it's some kind of Apple or Apple technology, or is it from Oracle or any company. So it is vendor neutral. Irrespective of any technology, ITIL best practices can be implemented in the organization, and you can manage your IT services. The next reason is it is non-prescriptive. So ITIL doesn't give any kind of prescriptions where you have to follow them at any cost, right? So it's not like that. It is non-prescriptive, which means ITIL can be adopted and adapted as per your organization requirements. Okay, and the next thing would be it's a best practice framework that can be applied in any industry. So we have many industries, right? Domains like finance domain, we have IT domain, we have pharmaceutical domain, we have banking domain. There are so many domains, you all know that, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is absolutely, you can apply ITIL in any domain. So it's a best practice framework that can be applied in any domain. So these are the primary reasons why ITIL has been so successful. Now you might wonder, then what the hell is this ISO, standards, right? So these are standards, and ITIL is a best practice framework. So ISO 20K or ISO 27001 or ISO 31K, all these kind of things are standards. Standards are a bit different. Standards define some kind of rules, some kind of protocols. They've got some controls. And an organization can get certified in standard. But ITIL, no. An organization cannot get certified in ITIL because ITIL is a best practice framework which can be adopted and adapted. Okay, so what does it really mean? See, ITIL in V2, there was 2 process areas and then 11 processes and 1 function. So it's not a mandate that an organization has to implement all those 11 processes and 1 function at any cost. Based on the organizational requirement, they can go for it. If they think, no, 11 processes are not necessary for me, they can just go with 5 or 6 as per their requirements. And in ITIL V3, we've got 26 processes and 4 functions. Now, it's not a mandate that you got to implement all the 26 processes and 4 functions. It's not a mandate. Based on your requirements, you can do that. Okay. And in ITIL 4, we've got 34 practices. Now, it's not a mandate that an organization has to implement all those 34 practices at any cost. You can adopt and adapt as per your requirements. So that is a best practice framework. But when you look at the standard, it's not like that. Standards, let's say in ISO 31K, you got 144 controls. And out of that 144 controls, you will decide what are those controls very much needed for your organization, and you will have to follow those controls at any cost if in case your organization needs to be an ISO 27001 certified company. So you have to follow those controls. But an ITIL best practice or a best practice framework doesn't have that mandate kind of thing. You can implement the practices that is needed. Okay, so that is the difference between a best practice framework and a standard. I hope I have cleared myself enough. So we will move on to the next slide. are moving on to the next slide, evolution of ITIL. So if you look at the slide, so the first one, ITIL V1, we can say V1, was published in 1989. Okay, and it was with total 31 books. So now you might wonder, why, why did this ITIL thing started off? What is the reason? Right? You might be pondering, like, what is the reason why ITIL, why did this ITIL incept, and who has actually started off this thing called ITIL? If you're thinking about this, yes, I'm going to answer this question. So ITIL started off in 1980s, and the reason was, it was that point of time when organizations started implementing IT, information technology, the hardware, software, and all these kind of things in their organizations. And at that point of time, organizations did not really have that capabilities to manage the IT infrastructure very effectively and efficiently. Okay, imagine you have been using Android phone for the last 10 years, and let's say you have started using the iPhone, right? You have started using, but for the first few days, you will be having a bit of difficulty in order to use your iPhone, right? First few days. In the same way, when IT was introduced in the organizations, okay, then there was some kind of lag, there was some kind of difficulty which was there in the which was there in the organizations. So at that point of time, a company called OGC, Office of Government Commerce, and CCTA, Central Computers Telecommunications Agency, these two companies have approached the best companies at that point of time, like HP, IBM, Capgemini, CA, and so on. And they have consolidated the best practices from these companies, the companies that I've just mentioned, like HP, IBM, and so on. They have consolidated the best practices that they were using or they were implementing in their organizations. Now you might wonder, how come all these companies can give their intellectual property, right? No, they did not give the complete intellectual property, but they have shared some kind of best practices, how to resolve issues, or how to do changes, how to define the availability, how to define the capacity for your IT services, and so on. So that's how they have shared the best practices, and these two companies, OGC and CCTA, has consolidated these best practices and have also added few more, best practices, and that's how this ITIL V1 has been launched in 1989. And with respect to the technology, with respect to time, things are getting progressed, right? So in 2001, ITIL V2 had to be upgraded. Okay, ITIL V2 was upgraded in 2001 with 7 books, and the focus was on 2 process areas, that is service support and service delivery. So as we said, with respect to the time, we also have to upgrade our best practices. So in 2007, we had ITIL V3 with life cycle based approach. And this approach had totally 5 process areas, naming service strategy, design, transition, service operations, and then continual service improvement. And it totally had 26 processes and 4 functions. Okay. And in 2011, there were some minor updates to ITIL with respect to the definitions, and also there were a few new processes that have been added, and that was the updates in 2011. And in 2016, few more updates were done, right? And the reason for all these updates is to provide better guidance for IT service providers. So in 2016, there was few more updates with respect to guiding principles. There were totally 9 guiding principles and few more process areas. Few more processes like organizational change management, right? So that was the updates in 2016, and in 2019, that is this year, in February, ITIL 4 was launched. So if you look at this, the evolution, it is very much clear that the technology is advancing today, right? In 1980s, if you think about a computer, it would, it would look like a supercomputer. It was so big in size, it was enormous, right? But today, our computers have shrinked in size. Today we have laptops, today we have desktops, right? We also have PDAs, which are very much portable, right? The technology is increasing. And today, if you look at the technology, we have concepts like cloud, we have concepts like IoT, and we have also stepped into the fourth industrial revolution, right? So with respect to the technology, we are, progressing ourselves, and in order to provide better guidance, better, best practices, the ITIL has had also to evolve with respect to the technology. So this is the evolution of ITIL. Okay, so we will move on to the next slide, and let's try to understand what was ITIL v2, and then we will also try to understand why we have upgraded ourselves to ITIL v3 in 2007. So if you look at the slide, ITIL v2 version 2. So here you see 7 books. Actually, there are totally 7 books. One is Plan to Implement Service Management, Business Relationship Management, ICT Infrastructure Management, Application Management, Security Management, Service Support, and Service Delivery. So there were totally 7 books, but the limelight or the prominence was taken by only these 2 process areas, that is service support and service delivery. Rest all was completely ignored at that point of time, or probably very few companies thought of taking the advice from the other process areas like the ICT infrastructure management, BRM, planning to implement service management, security and application management. Probably the reason was the organizations did not feel the demand of this different other process areas. So there the prominence was only given to the service support and service delivery. Now if you wonder what is this service support and service delivery, okay, so I'm going to put it in this paint file. So just bear with me for a minute. I hope you are able to see my screen, right? So let me put it like this. So this was service support, okay, and in service support we had processes like incident management, okay, and we had problem management, and we had change management, and we had service desk as a function, okay, release management, and configuration management. So these were the processes which was there in service support. So service support was the process area, and then we had 5 processes in service support, that is incident, problem, change, release, and configuration, and one was service desk as a function. So why were these put into service support? Because we see incidents, we see problems, we see changes, we see releases and configurations every day in and day out. So all those day-to-day operational activities are put into one process area called service support. And then there was another one called service delivery, which had process like availability management, and then capacity management, and then we had service level management, and then we had financial management, and then we had IT service continuity management. Okay, So these were the different processes that was defined in service delivery. Now, if you look at this, these were all day-to-day operational activities, right? You see incidents, you see problems, you see changes, you see service desk calls, you see releases, you see configurations, being added and updated and deleted every day in and day out. So that was service support. And what is service delivery? Service delivery focused on that kind of processes which looked at the long-term perspectives. Like you will not define availability plans every day in and day out for the same service, right? You will define an availability plan once in a while. That is when you are about to begin the service. Capacity management, the same. You will define capacity plans once. That is when you are about to launch your capacity, but not every day in and day out. Probably you might have to revise your capacity plans or your availability plans maybe after a month, or maybe after a quarter, or maybe after a half a year, or maybe after a year, but not every day in and day out, right? Service level management, where you will be defining the service level agreements. Would you define SLAs every day in and day out for the same service? Not at all. You will define SLAs once in a while. That is maybe once in a month, or not even month, once in a quarter, or maybe not even quarter. You might revise your SLAs once in a quarter, or maybe after half a year, but not every day in and day out, right? Financial management, budgeting, accounting, and charging. Would you be doing your budgets every day, accounting and charging? No. IT service continuity management. So IT service continuity management talks about defining the plans and doing the tests and all this kind of things. So would you every day in and day out? No, not at all. You'd be doing it once in a month, or maybe once in a quarter, something like that, right? So if you look at these two process areas, service support was that process area which was focusing on day-to-day operational activities, and service delivery was that process area which focused on the long-term aspects, right? So this was ITIL V2, right? So if the reason, okay, now this is how ITIL V2 was designed. Okay, now this is a very silo-based approach. There was no integration between these two activities, these two process areas. So for that reason, there was ITIL V3. You look at this, ITIL V3 has been launched in 2007 in a life cycle based approach. So the first one is service strategy, and then comes service design, and then service transition, and then service operations, and then on the top we have continual service improvement, which is actually trying to improve the services, that is with respect to all these four process areas. Okay, so service strategy, what was this? What is the service strategy? Service strategy was the process area which focused on developing strategic assets rather than developing organizational assets. So in service strategy, we had these processes like strategy generation for IT services, BRM, business relationship management, demand management, service portfolio management, and financial management. And in service design process area was the process area which focused on designing the real services with the help of the process like design coordination, catalog management, information security management, supplier management, service level management, capacity, availability, and IT service continuity management. And then we had service transition, which focused on transiting the services from design to operational environment. It also did testing kind of activities. So the purpose of the service transition was to transit the services from design to service operations with the help of these processes like change, release, and deployment management, service asset and configuration management, transition planning and support, service validation and testing, knowledge management. And then the last was service operations, which focused on day-to-day operational activities with the help of process like incident, problem, event management, request fulfillment, and four functions, that is service desk, technical management, IT operations, and application management. So this is how ITIL V3 was designed. And why did we move to ITIL 4? The reason is this is a life cycle based approach, which was fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed continual service improvement. So continual service improvement was that process area which focused on improving all these four process areas. So continual service improvement works with service strategy, service design, service transition, and SO. Okay, so it tries to improve the services on all these four process areas. Fine. So this is how ITIL V3 was designed. But this is a life cycle based approach, which is very much fantastic. Yes. But the problem was Service strategy, whatever strategy has been designed is moving to service design. And then service design is designing the service based on the strategy, right? And then whatever designs have been given by service design is being tested by service transition. And then it is being moved into service operations, into the operational environment. But so if you look at this, the direction or the way how communication is happening is like this: strategy to design, design to transition to operations, and CSI, of course, is working with all the process areas. So with respect to time, now that is from 2008 or probably from 2010, okay, this DevOps approach has become very popular, right? DevOps approach has become very popular, and it has actually gained great popularity, and even all people, management, were very much convinced with the approach, that is DevOps approach, right? Where all the different teams are actually working together, collaborating together, communicating together, and they all are working together in order to give better value to our customers, right? So in order to bring the best practices of Agile, in order to the best practices of DevOps, in order to bring the best practices from Lean, ITIL V4 has been launched. That is in 2019, right? So if you look at V2, it was silo-based approach, and V3, it was good. All processes were working in lifecycle-based approach, but it was like a traditional waterfall approach, right? You understand what is a traditional waterfall approach? Like, the water falls from the cliff onto a lake or onto the ground, but the water cannot go back, right? So that is waterfall approach. So strategy has been designed, transited in operations, but it cannot go back. So that's, it's like you're wasting a lot of time, and it's you wasting a lot of you're wasting lots of costs, right? So this was more like a traditional waterfall approach. So ITIL 4 in 2019, that is in February, right? So ITIL V4 has been launched, imbibing the best practices from DevOps, Agile, and Lean. So what is this DevOps approach? This is a methodology which tries to combine two different teams, that is Dev and Operations. So now don't think Dev means it's a team, going to do the development. It's not like that. If you look at this diagram, so here we're talking about planning, we're talking about coding, we're talking about building, we're talking about testing. So there are lots of teams which are involved in Dev team, and in operations is release, deploy, operate, and monitor. So in simple words, I can say DevOps is an approach where your business analysts who are actually consolidating, who are collecting, who are gathering requirements, your architects who are doing the high level designs, your developers who are doing the real coding, and then your build teams who is actually preparing that what you call executable files, and then your test teams who is actually doing the manual or automation testing, and different kinds of testings being used. All these teams, and also with respect to operations teams, that is your release teams, your deployment teams, your operational teams like service desk and monitoring teams, right? All these different teams. And I can also say even your security teams, right? All these teams are working together. They are collaborating together, okay? They're collaborating together, and then they are working together to provide better value for our customers. So this is a new approach that has been which got incepted in probably 2008 or 2010, something like that, right? So this approach has really got great popularity, and it also delivered great results to the organizations, right? So ITIL 4 has brought in these best practices from DevOps and Agile. You all know about Agile approach, where we are working in iterations or iterations, right? And then we are regularly, whatever iteration we are working on, we are involving a customer, we are taking the feedback from our customer, and then we are what do you call, doing the delivery or implementation of that so-called work product, right? So agile is another new best practice or a methodology, project management methodology, which focuses on doing it in sprints or iterations, and then involving the customer at every iteration. Because imagine you do all your software product and you give it to the customer, and then the customer says, no, this is not the product that I'm expecting, right? So that's a complete you have wasted all your costs, your resources, and all this kind of stuff, right? So in spite of that, if you work in iterations where you're involving your customer at every iteration, you're getting regular feedback. So the customer cannot say that, no, this is not the product that I want, right? So agile is that methodology which focuses on, working in iterations and then delivering or providing value to your customer. And lean is another methodology which actually incepted in manufacturing industry, and it talks about eliminating the inefficiencies. So there are inefficiencies or waste, which can be said as so there are different wastes, be it manufacturing industry or any industry, like waiting time, inventory, unnecessary inventory, overproduction, over-processing, defects, motion of goods, transportation, motion of people and transportation of goods. So these are the different kinds of wastes that can be found in any organization, right? And these can be also considered as inefficiencies. So in order to eliminate these inefficiencies, we use a methodology called lean methodology. Okay, so ITIL 4 brings all these best practices, that is DevOps, Agile, and Lean. So with the help of these different methodologies or the best practices from DevOps, Agile, and Lean, we have defined ITIL 4 with great, exciting, components in ITIL 4. So it has got lots of great stuff like service value system and service value chain. We've got guiding principles and lots of exciting stuff. So with the help of all these different components, ITIL 4 has been launched. And why? What is the reason? Why couldn't we just go with ITIL v3? The reason is today we are living in we already entered the so-called fourth industrial revolution. Right? We have entered into the age of Industry 4.0, where we are, working or, we are working with IoT devices, in IoT, Internet of Things. We are working with cloud. We have lots of new technologies, right? So with the progression of technology, we also have to provide better guidance for the IT infrastructure. So that is the reason why ITIL 4 has been launched, and that is the reason why we should actually go for ITIL v4 certification, because we are going to learn the best practices. We're going to learn the best practices, how to manage the so-called IoT, right? And we have to manage the so-called DevOps environments or DevOps projects, how we're going to manage the IT infrastructure. I'm sorry, in when we are using machine learning or artificial intelligence, the so-called cloud computing, right? So we have got lots of new technologies. So in order to manage the IT infrastructure of this new technologies, we need to understand what is ITIL 4. Okay, so I hope you understood what is the reason why we have stepped into ITIL 4, and let's look onto the next slide, that is the new concepts in ITIL 4. So here, the first diagram on the top is service value system. All right, so this is service value system, and this diagram can be actually split into three components, that is opportunity or demand, and the second or the third one is value, which would be the outcome, Okay, opportunity or demand will be the input, and the middle one is the service value system, which has got different components, right? It has got guiding principles, it has got governance, it has got service value chain, practices, and continual improvement. So in comparison with your ITIL V2 and V3, there are no more silos, or there are no more traditional waterfall kind of approach. Everything is located at one place, that is in service value system, which means you're going to embed the guiding principles. You also have another thing called governance. Governance wasn't mentioned explicitly in ITIL V3 and neither in ITIL V2, but here in ITIL V4 you also see governance, which also is very much needed for IT organizations, or probably for any service management organizations, right? So we have guiding principles. We've got 7 guiding principles. Okay, that is focus on value, start where you are, progress iteratively with feedback, and collaborate and promote visibility, think and work holistically, and then keep it simple and practical, and optimize and automate. So you've got 7 guiding principles which will tell an organization, how they have to implement practices, organization, how they have to manage services in their organizations, right? And with the help of governance, ITIL is going to provide guidance how you're going to evaluate, how you're going to monitor, how you're going to the IT organization. And with the help of service value chain. Now you might think, what is the service value chain? This is service value chain. Here it is just written as service value chain, but here are the different components, the interconnected components which defines what is a SVC, service value chain. So if you look at the service value chain, here you can see that there are few components like plan, improve, engage, design and transition, obtain or build, deliver, and support. So these are the different components which are actually, developing the service and enabling value to the customers. So with the help of plan, you're going to define your vision, your mission, and then with the help of engage, you are actually trying to engage with different stakeholders, collect the requirements, and then with the help of design and transition, you are designing the services and transiting the service, testing the services, and with the help of obtain or build, you are obtaining the services. If in case you don't have the capability in your organization, let's say you don't have the subject matter expertise in your organization, you have to obtain it from another company, right? A third-party company or a supplier. So obtain or build is that, level or that component which focuses on bringing that capabilities from other third-party companies or building it on our own. And then deliver and support is that component which focuses on providing day-to-day operational activities. And then we have improve component, which focuses on improving all your services and your practices, your people, so all the different facets of service management. So this is service value chain, which is embedded here. And here we have practices, that is 34 practices in number. Okay, and so all these practices, guiding principles, governance, service value chain, and continual improvement, they all are working together in order to enable value to the customers. So this is how, ITIL V4 has been systematically arranged with the best practices of DevOps, Agile, and Lean. And you might wonder, what is this third diagram? So here you see 4 dimensions. That is organization and people, information and technology, value streams and processes, and partners and suppliers. So if you remember in ITIL V3, we had something called 4 Ps, right? People, process, products, and partners. So that 4 Ps has been reorganized into these 4 dimensions, that is organization and people. Since people fall under the category of organizations, so this thing has been clubbed like organizations and people. We all people, fall under different organizations like teams, departments, and all that, right? So without organization and people, can service management or service management organization survive? No, not at all. It's not possible. So this is one of the primary dimensions. The next one is information and technology. So today, is there any organization which can work without information and technology? Absolutely not possible. So information and technology is another dimension. Right? And why is information and technology clubbed together? Because this information, sits in the technology. So that's the reason why information and technology is put into one dimension. And the next thing is partners and suppliers. So partners and suppliers are, third party kind of people, right? Suppliers are those organizations who provide some kind of services to us. They are third party organizations. We've got some agreements, we've got some contracts with them, and we try to get those services. And then if we like the services, we will go ahead with them, or else we will terminate the contracts and we'll find out another supplier. They are third party. And partners are those organizations who have the same kind of vision, just like our organization, like a service provider. For a service provider, right? So let's say a company like ServiceNow, right? ServiceNow is the company who is providing service management or enterprise service management tools, and they have lots of partners like gold partner, bronze partner, or silver partner, different partners, and they help ServiceNow to promote their business, right? To get more business. So partners are those organizations who have the same kind of vision with respect to the service provider. And then we have value streams and processes. Value streams are those, I can put it like this: value streams are series or sequential steps in order to eliminate the inefficiencies in a work, and processes sit in value streams. So these are the new concepts that has been brought in ITIL 4. This is, a very bird's eye view. This is just a aerial view that I'm giving you. So it's not just it's not the complete picture that I'm trying to give you. And in this short span of time, that is just 1 hour's time or 45 minutes, it's really impossible to give you all that exciting and enticing stuff from ITIL 4. So I'm just trying to give you a bird's eye view. So these are the different new components or new concepts that have been brought in ITIL 4, which will make an IT service provider's job very easy. With all these new concepts, you will be able to manage your IT services more efficiently and effectively. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. In ITIL 4, actually, we have covered all these different components more or less. So we'll talk about, in ITIL 4, we talk about value creation. Value creation is not something which goes in unidirectional way. Service provider provides, service provider is just enabling value to the service consumer, and service consumer is giving feedback to the service provider. It's in V3, if you look at the definition of service, something like delivery of value to the customers, right? The delivery of value to customers in the form of services. But here in ITIL 4, it's not delivery of value, it is enabling value. So service provider is just enabling, and service consumer should consume the services, and then he should appreciate or give complaints or compliments, whatever it is. So value creation is a new term that we will know in ITIL 4. And then we talk about guiding principles that I've just told you. Focus on value. That means we are trying to see value in each and every activity that we are doing. Start where you are is a guiding principle which focuses on, which says that do not start from the scratch. Whatever you have, try to utilize that and then build it from there. Progress iteratively with feedback is another guiding principle which says that do it in iterations and take regular feedback from your customer. Collaborate and promote visibility is another principle which says that collaborate with all your relevant stakeholders and promote visibility of the work that you're doing so that you get regular feedback from people. And think and work holistically. Think about the service holistically, not as silos, right? Keep it simple and practical. Ensure that you have just the enough minimum number of steps and provide that value what customer is expecting. Don't make things very exhaustive, complex, right? So make it very simple and optimize and automate, which talks about efficiently utilizing your resources and services and automating that, automating wherever it is possible. Right? So these are different guiding principles. They sound very simple, but ITIL 4 provides the guidance on these guiding principles, how you can actually manage your IT services with the help of these 7 guiding principles. And you have the 4 dimensions of service management, service value system, and this is service value chain. We have governance, which talks about evaluating, directing, and monitoring your IT services, your 4 dimensions, that is your organization and people. So it's not just that you are managing your IT services, you also need to manage your people. You also need to manage your information and technology. You also need to manage your partners and suppliers. You also need to manage your value streams and processes. So ITIL 4 talks about all this kind of exciting stuff. So that is the reason, why you would be needing ITIL 4. You might think, no, I've done my ITIL V3, I'm good enough. No, not at all. Today we have stepped into ITIL 4. That is, we are in Industry 4.0, right? We have transformed ourselves into digital lives, right? We are in a digital era. So in this digital era, we need better practices. We need upgraded practices to manage our IT infrastructure. So that is the reason why you should go for ITIL 4 certification. Now, who should do ITIL 4 certification? In my opinion, all IT management or all IT teams would be needing ITIL 4 certification. It's not explicitly for IT management or operations. It's for everybody, from regular to IT management and governance teams. All should know what is ITIL 4 certifications, or what is ITIL 4 certification and the different certifications that is there in ITIL 4. So it is needed for beginners, that is college graduates who have just passed out and who are just about to enter the IT industry, so that they can know the complete life cycle of IT. And it is needed for quality professionals, so that they can know what is ITIL 4 and understand the definitions of ITIL 4 and understand the different processes. Development and database teams, yes, even they need to understand what is ITIL 4. Right? And service desk staff must ensure they need to know what is ITIL 4, because the definitions and the terminology, the processes have all changed. Operations management, yes, even they need it, and other miscellaneous teams like architecting teams or business analysts, because at the end of the day, we are all working in IT department. So when you are working in IT department, you need to know ITIL, because ITIL provides best practices to manage your IT services. So in my opinion, all teams, irrespective, you are a beginner or you're in a governance team or you're in a management or you're an auditor, all different stakeholders and IT teams would be needing ITIL 4 certification. Okay. So ITIL 4 certifications, what are the different certifications we have in ITIL 4? We have ITIL Foundation, we have ITIL Specialist certifications like Create, Deliver and Support, Drive Stakeholder Value, High Velocity IT, Direct Plan and Improve. Okay, and then we have ITIL Managing Professional, and then we have ITIL Strategic Leader, and then ITIL Leader, that is Digital and IT Strategy. Now you might wonder, what are all these different certifications, right? So Create, Deliver and Support is the certification which focuses on day-to-day operational activities, right? And Drive Stakeholder Value is the process or is the certification which focuses on driving the stakeholder value, how you need to engage with your stakeholders and how you can enable value to your customers. And High Velocity IT is a certification which focuses on those teams. It provides best practices, it provides guidance for high velocity teams like data center teams, where there is great criticality and where there is great urgency. And then we have Strategist, Direct Plan and Improve, which focuses on providing governance, planning and improvement. Okay, so this is Strategist certification. Strategist certification is repeated, once in Managing Professional and then once in Strategic Leader. So I'll not repeat the same thing again here. And then Digital and IT Strategy Leader is another certification which focuses on providing guidance for the digital transformation, right? So in order to transform yourself digitally, or to get into digital transformation, so you need, or this ITIL Leader, Digital IT Strategy, gives you the guidance on that area. So once you do this 4 certifications, you will be professional, and then after you do this ITIL Managing Professional, then you can do the certification Digital and IT Strategy, so that you can become Strategic Leader. And once you complete these 2 certifications, then you will be getting the award ITIL Master. So these are the different certifications that is available in ITIL 4. So that's it from my side. So if you have any questions, please shoot out to me and I'll be very happy to answer them. So please let me know if you have any questions. We'll wait for a couple of minutes, and then yeah, we will be, we'll be done with the session.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Hello. Let me look at the chat box.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yep.
Hello. Yeah, I'm asking how the current certifications can be mapped to these new certifications for the ITIL expert version 3, where he will fit in this diagram. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a good question. So if you look at the CDS, I can say that CDS certification goes like this: service operations, or ITIL service operations. Operations, and your DSV, drive stakeholder value, we'll be talking or it will address your ITIL v3 service strategy certification. Okay, and HVIT is something very new and the need of the hour, because today we are working in cloud environments, we are working in data centers, so this is a very new certification, okay, which I cannot really address with respect to ITIL v3, but I can try to correlate this thing with service operations, service design, and service transition. But HVIT is something really very new, which talks about how you are supposed to manage your services in very critical environments like data centers and cloud environments and so on. And DPI, direct plan and improve, is something like your ITIL v3 continual service improvement, and SO and SD and ST. Okay. Yes, and then the last one would be digital and IT strategy. Are going to get guidance. We're going to get guidance and best practices how to transform an organization into a digital organization. So this is also a new thing. This is a very brand new thing. So this is how I can actually correlate ITIL v3 certifications with ITIL v4. And yes, ITIL expert. ITIL expert can be, yeah. So ITIL MP, managing professional, can be correlated to ITIL v3 expert. Okay, and ITIL strategic leader cannot be correlated again. It's a new thing. So by doing this ITIL strategic leader, you will get the expertise and the capabilities so that you can transform your organization into a digital organization. So these are the new things. And sorry.
Is there any bridge course from expert to the managing professional?
Absolutely, yes, there is. There is. So ITIL master in v4 is just the same. After doing expert, you do theses, you write some research papers, and then you become ITIL v3 master. It's the same thing again, even here in ITIL v4, but that announcements is not yet done. So probably by the first quarter, in 2020, we should be knowing what are the prerequisites for ITIL v4 master. Yeah. So, and your question was, is there any bridge course from ITIL v3 expert? Absolutely, yes, there is a bridge course. ITIL v3 experts can do a course called ITIL Managing Professional Transition, okay, MP Transition course. You can do this ITIL MP Transition course, through which you will ITIL MP, that is ITIL Managing Professional, and then you can go ahead for the other certifications. So Service Desk Academy, our organization also provides this ITIL MP transition course. So currently, Service Desk Academy provides ITIL Foundation, CDS, Create, Deliver, and Support, and then Drive Stakeholder Value, High Velocity IT. So High Velocity IT, no, not yet, because it will be released in Q1 2020. So currently, Service Desk Academy offers CDS, DSV, and ITIL Foundation, and also ITIL MP transition course. So these are all the different certifications that Service Desk Academy is offering. Any other further questions? Any other questions, please let me know. We'll be happy to address them. Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah,
this course is for this course there will be an exam for the transition, and you will be yeah, and then you will have the ITIL only to get strategy leader, direct and plan and improve.
Oh, when you want to become ITIL strategic leader, yes, you have to explicitly do the strategist certification, direct plan and improve, because there we're going to learn the concepts very much in detail. So after doing this managing professional, yes, you will have to do ITIL strategist and digital and IT strategy in order to get your award ITIL strategic leader.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Okay, Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this great session, Sarah, and also all the participants. It was really very nice engaging in this discussion about ITIL 4. Do I need ITIL 4, and talking about the different certifications and the key concepts or the new concepts in ITIL 4. It was really, I was really very excited to talk about this. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed the session and you have learned some new things about ITIL 4. So Sarah, I am done with my session, so you can take it forward from here.